Hello, my Funatics, and welcome to week 1 of GBA Season 6, and Mewcastle United are facing off against the New Orleans Pelippers, coached by my good friend John, aka PokeMEN. Please check out his channel in the description below. This is it. We're starting, and this is the first week, and first week, straight away, I'm bringing Mega Banette. If you haven't seen my team builder video, you can see that. I'll probably link that in the description too, so that you kind of know what's going on and why I brought what I brought. Looking at John's team, it's kind of slightly different to what I thought he might bring. I was definitely expecting a Gastrodon just to take on my Suicune a bit better, because Suicune was pretty obviously coming as my best switch in to Mega Lopunny. But I don't see that, and also he's got Umbreon, which I didn't think he was bringing, but I wasn't particularly scared of, but I don't know if that's going to change things. The things that I'm worried about, Reuniclus, as I said in my team builder, was going to be hard to deal with. I need to keep Mega Banette around just to get a hit off on it, because Mega Banette can do big damage, but other things can't necessarily. I'm hoping to see Assault Vest, Calm Mind, Defensive would be much scarier. Also, Mega Lopunny, I need to be really aware of that, and I need my Suicune around to deal with that well. I do have other things to cripple it and hopefully help with it, but I really need my Suicune to deal with it well. So that's my thoughts. I also am a little bit concerned about the Landorus because I don't know what set it's going to be. So we'll see how all that goes. In terms of lead matchup, looking at his team, I thought Kyurem was a pretty good lead because I can drop Dracos relatively freely. The only thing that can take it really is Umbreon, and that can take it pretty well if it's specially defensive. If not, it's going to have to wish up and stuff, so that's pretty good. Bishop's not going to be taking them well at all, so that's okay. So anyway, yeah, I thought Kyurem was a good lead. The only thing that outspeeds it, well, there's Lopunny and there's Latios, and I do have switch-ins on them, so I thought, why not start with some pressure? So anyway, yeah, I lead with my Kyurem, and he sends out Lopunny, wanting to get fake out Mega off, I think, so I'm just going to go straight into Suicune. I've got the Rocky Helmet, I want to punish that fake out, and so that's what I do, which is pretty nice. And now I feel quite free to fire off a Scold. He doesn't have the Gastrodon to try and take it. He actually goes into Blobby, the Reuniclus, and we see that I do get the burn, fortunately, and he's not Magic Guard, he's Regenerator, which makes me think he's probably Assault Vest. I did actually do a calc to confirm that. I now switch into my kind of specially defensive Mew, which can take hits very well, and I'm just going to go for a Flamethrower in case he wants to switch into Bishop, because I don't want to get burned going for a Will-O-Wisp on the Synchronized Umbreon, which was probably his more likely switch in. Now, Umbreon, I've got plenty of things to switch in on that, and I am actually going to go for the offensive switch into Virizion, because I can fire off close combats quite freely. There's not too much that wants to take a close combat. I'm thinking that probably Latios wants to come in, but I get that wrong. He actually goes into Landorus. That's not too bad though, because this Klefki is designed to help with Landorus because I have the Magnet Rise. So that works out. I'm going to be able to get a Spike Up, which is going to be really helpful. Latios is the only thing that can deal with that. But we actually see Smackdown, which is pretty bad. Now I'm just going to pause at that. I'm going to explain why that's bad. I was worried about Landorus in the prep before I had done Magnet Rise Klefki, because it meant that I would have a lot of pressure on Suicune. It would have to take on the likes of Lopunny, Bishop, and Landorus potentially, if I didn't have anything else for it. And also there was the Escavalier as well, which I was a bit worried about, but that didn't end up coming, which is alright. I thought that it was actually kind of likely to come because it's a reasonable switch in on my dragons, but obviously John didn't like the prospect of just running an HP Fire or something like that. I don't know. So anyway, Landorus is with the Smackdown is actually really not good for me. I'm not sure if John purposefully brought it for my Klefki. I'm imagining it was actually more likely for Electros, obviously smacking it down and then having super effective Earthquakes to go for. But if John saw the Magnet Rise Klefki coming, then that was very, very good prep. So props to him for that. And it means that I need to think of what I want to switch into Earthquakes. Now, my Suicune can take them, but probably not amazingly, because this is looking like a fully offensive Landorus with this moveset so far, and the damage it did to my Klefki. And so I don't really feel comfortable switching my Suicune in on it because I've already taken fake out damage. which potentially puts me in range of 2, but it'd have to get max rolls on 2 Earthquakes. And so I can't really risk my Suicune. I also want it to be at decent health anyway for the Lopunny. So right now, I kind of need to switch into something that will be able to take a hit and threaten the Landorus out. And the only real thing that can do that, in my eyes, is Kyurem. So unfortunately, Kyurem is going to take a huge hit. But that's okay, because Kyurem was actually more of a wall breaker, and he doesn't have the walls that I felt I brought Kyurem to break. So things like... Well, the Landorus is one of the ones that I wanted to be able to hit, and then dropping Dracos won't do as much to an Umbreon or an AV Reuniclus, and I've got other ways of dealing with them in Virizion and Banette, so I feel like Kyurem is probably more expendable, but it'll still take this Earthquake and be threatening to his team. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go straight into my Kyurem. It does take a big chunk. My Cold Turkey takes a big chunk from that Earthquake, but I am able to just go for an Ice Beam right here, which should do... Oh no, I go for a Draco actually. I go for a Draco because I know that it would do huge damage to anything. And you can see there, I get 54%. Now he's probably on just under 27% with the way that Showdown works. So there is a chance that another Draco would actually kill him. But I did check the roll. 54% was on the high side. So I would be... I think John has a better chance of living than I do of KOing, and I didn't want to risk Cold Turkey right now, and he's got easy switches, so I think that he's probably going to go into Umbreon. So that's my thought process right now, and yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable going for another Draco, so I felt like going into Klefki was a good middle. If he stays in with Reuniclus, Klefki's okay against that, and if he goes into the Umbreon, I can deal with that. He actually goes into Bisharp. I don't want to take hits from that because I'm specially defensive, not physically defensive. So I'm going to switch into my Suicune there. And this is a very good matchup for me. I can go for another Scold here. As he goes into the Latios. I've got stuff for Latios in... Well, Klefki's my best thing for Latios because Foul Play does a lot of damage. I think it does about half. And Thunder Wave would cripple it as well. So I can definitely switch Klefki into Latios, even if it's got super effective hits. That's what it's designed to do. So we see Landorus come in again, and I get a nice hit off with the Foul Play. That, unfortunately, it's just under half, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to go for a Magnet Rise again, thinking that he probably won't go for a Smackdown straight away. He does set up Rocks, which is unfortunate because Kyurem's low and it actually only has one more switch in. So he does go for the Smackdown now, as I'm able to get off another Foul Play safely. And that means that I will be able to switch... Well, I now have to switch on my keys. This is the unfortunate bit, because obviously he gets another Earthquake off. If I had just been doing slightly more damage and taken out that Landorus there, that would have been great. But this Landorus has been putting on huge pressure. I could have potentially sacked my Kyurem there, because really the best thing it's there for is to take on the Landorus. I had got sub on Kyurem, and it was there to help with things like Gastrodon, I could sub up on, or pressure a lot, and Rotom, I could definitely set up subs on, and there were things that I could do, but on this team I couldn't really set up subs, it wasn't as useful, so maybe sacking Kyurem there and not taking the Virizion would have been a better play. We'll see. I mean, having the powerful Draco Meteor is always useful, though. So, unfortunately, Rizzy Stardust is going to take a huge Earthquake. It does resist it, but it's not got the best defense, so it takes a lot. Went for the close combat there. I felt that it was better than the Leaf Blade, because he could have still tried to preserve Landorus, because I don't have rocks on this team. So he could have seen that, tried to preserve Landorus, and still got a powerful Earthquake off later in the game, which wouldn't have been ideal. But now Blobby comes in. I'm not going to want to stay in on Blobby because this thing is still important. It's my best way of dealing damage to Umbreon, really. Especially seeing as though Kyurem's quite low, because the Draco would still do a lot. But yeah, so I'm going to switch out, and I'm going to go into Mew again, because that's my best switching on Blobby. And John goes for a Shadow Ball and now sees that I'm actually very specially defensive, and I can take that for ages. So I'm going to roost up here with my Mew. I want to keep it healthy because it's quite important to check things. It can take a hit from pretty much anything at this stage because it's got the Colbur Berry. I can go into my keys on the Umbreon very safely, as John... I'm not sure if he predicted the keys or not, but I'm just going to check Foul Play damage. That was a bad play. I didn't need to do that. I mean, I knew that he wasn't defensive, or he might be defensive, actually. I hadn't counted. He might be defensive AV, or he might just be offensive AV. But yeah, that I shouldn't really have done that. That wasn't the optimal play. I should have maybe set up more spikes. But maybe making sure that I keep some damage on this Reuniclus is really important, because Banette doesn't necessarily OHKO it. It does a lot of damage. It does... I don't know. I think with Shadow Claw, it can be an OHKO, but min damage is about 90%. But with Pursuit, if I try and Pursuit Trap it, it needs to be below 80, I think, for it to be an ensured KO. So I do need to keep chipping away. But right now, I'm not too worried about this matchup, so I'm going to set up more spikes with my Klefki, because I feel like spikes are really important for this Regenerator Reuniclus, and also to get chip damage on things like Lopunny and also Umbreon and the Bishop. The spikes are actually putting in quite a lot of work. So now I can switch in Mew, knowing that it's a pretty safe switch in. And I'm going to roost up as Latios comes in. I want to burn this just so that I can start getting some residual damage on. But we see the Calm Mind there, and I get a bit worried. I do have Taunt on this Mew, which is what I'm going to go for now. But unfortunately, that Draco does way too much. Now, I do have a chance at living this second Draco at -1, but I'm not going to take that chance. And it's really unfortunate that Mew is so low now. There are chances of it being able to get back up to health, though. It outspeeds everything other than Lopunny and this Latios. So it will be able to roost up, so I don't feel bad switching out. And I'm just going to go into my keys again. I know that this Latios is going to go for another Draco because it has to kill the Mew. And so that's fine, and I do get the switch into keys. The keys with the leftovers are actually going to get some health back right now. And there are a number of plays I could have made here. I did think that one of the dark types was probably coming in. I'm just going to go for a foul play, though, because I wanted to get rid of that Latios. It was really scary, and I didn't want to play around. It could maybe try to set up more Calm Minds. It wouldn't have been wise, because obviously Klefki is a stop to that. So right now, I go into my Suicune, because it's really my only switch in at this stage on the Bishop, seeing as though Virizion taken so much damage. I do lose my Rocky Helmet, though, which isn't ideal, because Rocky Helmet is one of my best ways of dealing with Lopunny. Lopunny just loses to this Suicune. Even if it's a setup Lopunny or something like that, if I still have my Rocky Helmet, I just beat that Lopunny with my Suicune. So losing Rocky Helmet is a bit of a shame, but it puts Bishop at a lot lower health, and with the spikes and everything, it's actually going to die quite quickly. So not too much of a shame. We didn't see an item there with the Bishop, so I'm thinking potentially a Scarf, so I need to keep that in mind. It could also be a berry or something like that, but just something to bear in mind. Now I need to get a rest off with my Suicune, because I need it to be healthy enough to take high jump kicks from Lopunny and things like that. So I did want to get the rest off there. Now I'm going to burn a turn of sleep, as I was hoping that this Umbreon wouldn't go for Wish straight away. If it went for Wish and went into the Latios, that would be a bad thing. But he goes for Heal Bell, showing the Heal Bell. That's not great for me. I do want to keep my status on things, and that's something that I didn't necessarily think Umbreon would be brought, and Heal Bell is definitely going to hinder what I want to do right now. So I'm going to go for a close combat here against the Reuniclus. It doesn't do too much, but with the spikes and everything, yeah, it gets that. It gets the Wish back, so maybe not the best way, but I did want to punish a Latios switch in so it wouldn't get up to full, potentially. Anyway, right now I go into my keys again, and here is where I go for a foul play. I said that it wasn't the best play last time. It's actually the best play this time, because I need to make sure Reuniclus is in pursuit range. So now I can go into my Banette. Obviously I'm going to threaten this thing out, because I've seen that it's Assault Vest, and I could go for a knockoff because he's not Colbert, but I actually have Pursuit. I don't think John saw that coming. If he did, he would have gone for the Shadow Ball. So yeah, I don't think John saw that coming, and that's brilliant. Mega Banette getting a kill, and this thing has already put in work, so I'm very happy about Mega Banette so far. Right now, Umbreon is very bad for Mega Banette. Umbreon is like the worst thing for Mega Banette. I can't do anything to it. I don't want to burn it because I'll get burned myself. And yeah, it's just bad news. So I'm going to switch out. At this stage, I'm not sure if I had seen all of Umbreon's moveset, so I was a bit worried it might have a status move. John actually does just go for the foul play, which is interesting because if I had Destiny Bond, that would take out the Umbreon. I don't have Destiny Bond though, and I wasn't going to play around there. Right here, I'm going to go into my Virizion as John makes an interesting play going for the Protect. Now, that was a perfectly reasonable play. At the time, I thought it was a bit brazen because he doesn't know what the Virizion is, and if I wanted to set up, I potentially could do. But I was below sub-health, so that's why it was kind of safe for him to do that. If I had sub-health there, I probably would have gone for a sub. Because that would, if he wanted to switch, it would have given me a bit more momentum. But I do go for the close combat. Don't know what this Umbreon is yet. If it's defensive, then it will be able to take a close combat very well. If it's especially defensive, then it's not going to be taking it well at all, and Umbreon will probably die to a spike switching, so that's quite good. I am just going to go for another close combat. If he wants to switch out, something is probably going to take a lot of damage. Like, Latios is maybe his best switch in here, but if he stays in, he's probably going to be able to take a close combat, an unboosted close combat from Virizion, which he can. Unfortunately, by the way that I played this Virizion, it would have just been better if I brought it banded and gone for banded close combats. It would have killed there and it would have been beneficial, but that's not the case. So now I go into Mew because I want to keep this Umbreon low, and that's a mistake because John sees the taunt coming a mile off. If I had gone for a Roost there, I would have been able to take that foul play and then could have taunted the next turn. But Umbreon would have been getting passive health recovery there anyway. So right now, I'm going to go into my Suicune because I can't go into my Banette. John is still taunted, so he won't be able to get off any wishes yet. So I was thinking he would probably want to switch out, fearing me getting a Sleep Talk Scald Burn, which would potentially kill Jolteon, maybe not this turn, but the turn after, because he'd still be taunted. So I think he's going to switch out. He's not going to risk Lopunny getting a Scald Burn or something like that, and his Bisharp would die if I pulled a Scald. So he's probably going to go into Latios, because there's very little that a sleeping Suicune can do to a Latios. So I make the big boy play and switch a Banette in on an Umbreon, on a taunted Umbreon with Foul Play as its only move, which would definitely KO me. But I was predicting that Latios switch. This is a bit dire straits right now because I don't have much to do. This is pretty scary, but in my head, I'm thinking Suicune can potentially take on Lopunny, Umbreon, and Bisharp. Bisharp is very low. It's going to die to one Scald. Umbreon will lose to Suicune because of pressure stalling, and I've got Toxic and Scald, and he won't have enough heal bells, so I will be able to get a status on it. And Lopunny won't be doing enough damage to Suicune. So that was what I was hoping. That was a situation I was hoping to do. If I can get this Latios in against my Banette, I will potentially be able to take out the Latios, and then Suicune will be able to 1v3 the rest of the team. That's the idea that I had. So, is it what happened? It actually is what happened. John did switch into Latios, which is perfect. Now, we are in a situation where John has seen that I have Pursuit. He knows that I have Pursuit. What he doesn't know is if I have a priority move in terms of Shadow Sneak or Sucker Punch. He doesn't know if I've got Destiny Bond, and he doesn't know if I've just got a Shadow Claw or a Knockoff or something like that. He's only seen the Pursuit. So it's obvious that I probably will have another attacking move. The things that I'm thinking about are that this Latios will kill me if it attacks me. So I need to be aware of that. I have Shadow Sneak, which will KO from this range, and I have Pursuit for if he switches out. Those are basically my two options. So it's really a 50-50 as to whether he switches out or not. The only thing that I would worry about is that I've seen Calm Mind, Draco, and Psyshock. I haven't seen a third move. It could well be Defog, or it could be Roost. And I don't want either of those things happening. And that is, I would say, if I were John and I had one of those two moves, I would probably go for it now. Because if I go for a Sucker Punch, he'll be able to get a Roost or a Defog off. If I go for a Destiny Bond, he will be able to get a Roost or a Defog off. And if Yeah, he could. Sorry, I've got confused. No, if I've got Destiny Bond or Sucker Punch, then he would be able to get a Roost or a Defog off. And if I go for a Pursuit as well, he would probably be able to live that after a Roost. I was really just worried that he had Roost. In the likelihood of everything, he may well have had something to maybe hit Klefki if he is a Calm Mind Latios. I don't know. Maybe he did have Defog. So anyway, I thought that Shadow Sneak was probably the best play because John might not see it coming. He might think that I have Sucker Punch over Shadow Sneak. He might think that I'm going for a Destiny Bond because this is the only thing that I need Banette to take down, as we can probably close out the match. So I'm going to go for Shadow Sneak because he's seen the Pursuit. And I don't think that he will go for Pursuit. I don't think he'll go for the switch because he knows that I have Pursuit. So I go for the Shadow Sneak, but we see here he does switch out. Which is really unfortunate. I am going to go for the Shadow Sneak. That's not going to KO the Bishop, which is fine. But the issue is that the Latios is still alive and I need it to be dead. And he's got ways of manipulating it so I won't be able to get that chance. So that 50-50 there with Latios about whether I was going to go for a Pursuit or not, that was huge. And it was actually a very, very, very close thing. But I have a feeling that this isn't going to be enough. Now, I don't have speed to outspeed Bishop, but this Bishop may well be scarfed without Sucker Punch. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to click the Shadow Sneak again. There were mind games here as well as to whether he might have Sucker Punch, and I could maybe go for a burn. But I just went for a Shadow Sneak, and I am able to take out the Bishop, which is very good. But now the Lopunny comes in, and my Suicune is still asleep, and it can't really take 2 high jump kicks after rocks, I don't think. It depends on the Lopunny set. This Lopunny is probably jolly, to be fair, to outspeed Crobat. But yeah, I didn't feel comfortable switching it into Suicune. The issue here is, so what I'm going to do, I stay in because I want to get the burn on this thing. If I can get the burn on, then I can actually switch in Suicune, so that's fine. So I flinch here, and that damage is looking like I probably wouldn't be able to survive a return after a burn. Although I might do. Yeah, no, I probably could do. So I'm going to burn and hope to survive a return. If he's got a high jump kick, then I'm not living. But John actually has Facade, so that's going to put a stop to all of my plans. And that will determine the game because I've just given him the Facade boost. So now my Suicune, because it's not Calm Mind, it's got Toxic over Calm Mind, it won't be able to beat the Latios. And also this Lopunny will be doing too much damage now with the Facade as well. If I still have my Rocky Helmet, that might have helped a little bit, but at this stage it was too late, I think. So John made some amazing prep decisions. The Facade there is really good, and it did help him clear up the game. And yeah, it was a fantastic game, and I really enjoyed it, and it felt so intense coming down to that matchup with Latios and Banette. And if I got that Pursuit prediction right, I think it would still be achievable, because after that, without a Latios, his best way of breaking through my Suicune would have been Lopunny, so he wouldn't have switched that in on a Banette, I wouldn't have thought, fearing the Destiny Bond. He probably would have gone into either Bishop or Umbreon to take on my Banette, meaning that I wouldn't have burnt his Lopunny, which wouldn't have had the boosted Facades, in which case my Suicune would have been able to take it on at the end. And I think Suicune could have probably closed it out against Bishop, Umbreon, and Lopunny. So it was actually a deceptively close match. I think 3-0 is unfortunate that it did come to that. Both Umbreon was very low, and I had the chance at KOing the Latios and slipped through my fingers. So a little bit disappointing, but I think it was a very good match. And I'm really pleased that Banette did so well. Banette was so crucial in this matchup, and it did do very well. I think Destiny Bond would have been better over Will-O-Wisp. Especially if I had managed to get rid of the Latios, then Destiny Bond would have won me the game, because I would have got Latios kill and then another kill, and Suicune would have only had to handle 2 of Umbreon, Bishop, and Lopunny. So yeah, but Mind Games were so interesting and fun. I managed to kill the Reuniclus with a Pursuit, which was definitely something that's great. But I'm now realizing that this is probably what I've subjected myself to for a whole season, is lots of 50-50 situations because of Banette, and whether I'm going to go for a Sucker Punch or a Destiny Bond or a status move or a Pursuit or something like this. Banette is all about the mind game, so I need to practice them a little bit, because yeah, I think if I got that, I think this weekend could have closed out. The other annoying thing is yeah, well, no, it was good. It was a good battle, and I'm happy. I'm going to take away positive things from it, and we're going to move forward. And I'm just really determined that next week I'm gonna release all hell. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game, my GBA debut. I've had a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm quite happy with how things performed, especially Klefki. People have been dissing Klefki, but Klefki was very important. Getting those spikes was very important. Getting foul play damage off on Landorus was very important. If John hadn't made such a great prep decision with SmackDown, Klefki would have been incredible and would have been a big pressure on his team. But yeah, as I say, John made amazing prep decisions. It was such a good battle and so great to play one of my best friends in the community. So thanks for that, John. Go and subscribe to his channel. Links in the description. I've been foofootoo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.